welcome to the NFL Offseason Podcast. I'm your host, Louis Debe, and I'm filled with a room full of a hero, Dave Kress. What up, Dave?
Hey, boss. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So you ready to talk some football?
Yeah.
All right, let's get it going. First, we're going to talk about Alex Mack, the center for now staying as the Cleveland Browns after the Jaguars gave Alex Mack an offer sheet for 5 years, and the Browns matched the deal.
Yeah, and I think it's pathetic, if you ask me.
Pathetic?
The offer. They gave him $42 million over 5-year span, and that's over $8 million a year for a center. You
Right.
pay that's way overpaid for a center, right? And I don't even know if he's the best center in the league either.
Oh, no, I don't think so. Well, I mean, he's one of the best.
But it's $8.5 million a year.
No center is worth that much. I think, and what I don't like about the Cleveland Browns side of this is that he doesn't want to be in Cleveland. So it's like, why do you want to spend all this money on a not very highly motivated center coming back to your team? If he wants to play in Jacksonville over Cleveland,
Yeah,
that says something about this guy. But other than this, is how important Alex Mack is to Cleveland.
Although I think I'd rather play in Jacksonville than Cleveland myself.
Really?
It's nice there.
Oh, so you're doing it for the weather?
Well, I mean, the Browns are no.
Yeah, they're both up and coming teams, but if you look at it, if Mack left Cleveland, if they did not keep him, other than Joe Thomas, that offensive line is not very good. So I mean, hey, maybe they go into the draft and take someone at number 4, but I still think it's gonna be Sammy Watkins in that spot.
Well, I like their GM, so Kevin Costner.
Good movie. Sure, no spoiler. No, we won't give it away. So, also in the headlines, that we have not gotten to yet is DeSean Jackson signing with the Washington Redskins, which I can't stand, being an Eagles fan, but he got $2 million less than what he was getting paid for the Eagles, but he still got $8 million a year, which is a pretty good deal for an explosive playmaker, but he's not a number 1 receiver. In my books, a full number 1 receiver, but
Really?
RG3 gets another weapon to
They have
start
Pierre
his
Garcon.
comeback player of the year campaign.
Well, they have Pierre Garcon alongside, and
They have a bunch of they have the fastest offense I've seen.
really,
I mean, RG3, Pierre Garcon, who's lightning speed, Andre Roberts and DeSean Jackson. But Andre Roberts has reportedly not been happy with the DeSean Jackson. He wanted to be the number 2 receiver. He said the Redskins were going somewhere, and then they signed DeSean Jackson.
Smart move. Andre Roberts, what has he done other than catch a couple touchdowns?
He's been somewhat consistent as the 3rd receiver for Arizona, but
Yeah.
that's it. There's no. If Andre Roberts was this good, he would have been signed to a much higher contract than what he got with, and he got a generous offer from the Redskins for his production. So it's a good move for Washington, and now I'm nervous that DeSean is going to come back to haunt us twice a year. So I'm not.
He's
happy
going
with
to.
that.
He's better than any receiver on your team.
I agree with that, but I don't think he's
He's not worth $10 million a year.
He's
and
not
if
the
he was
best
causing
weapon.
problems,
He's not better than any weapon on the Eagles team.
because they have LeSean, but he's the second best weapon on their
I'm
team.
not scared of him, and I think Macklin can do exactly what DeSean did. Macklin, if you compare the stats, Macklin has actually had better stats than DeSean Jackson in the past 4 years. Besides missing this entire year, he has deep ball ability, and I think
So
with
does
all
DeSean.
obviously, but with all the other weapons, and we're adding Macklin because he didn't play last year, and Darren Sproles. I love DeSean, but I think now I'm still more concerned. I think the offense is fine. It's the defense. They need to get corners now that can cover DeSean Jackson. So let's move on from DeSean Jackson.
All right, sticking on the topic of the Eagles, they reportedly tried to trade for Deion Jordan, who was the 3rd overall pick last year, to the Miami Dolphins.
He was the 3rd, right?
Yeah, he was traded.
I thought they were going to take Lane Johnson with that pick.
They traded up with the Raiders.
He had an up and down year. He went to Oregon, so Chip Kelly's familiar with him. He fits exactly what the Eagles need, which is finally, if they want to convert this defense to an entire 3-4, I'm not trying to run Trent Cole out of the building because he had a pretty productive year, but they need a guy that can go across Connor Barwin, that can drop back in coverage as well. And reportedly, they offered the Dolphins a 2nd-round pick and Brandon Graham. So I don't know. I think that when you look at it, I think Brandon Graham is a much higher downgrade than Deion Jordan, and plus they gave up a third overall pick for the guy. They're not giving him they're not taking the deal for a second round pick.
Yeah, especially after after only 1 year. But they say that he wasn't really a fit in the Dolphins' defense.
Yeah, and it takes a pass rusher a while to develop too. Like, I mean, you didn't see Barkevius Mingo had a steady year, but not a lot of pass rushers that were rookies made a huge impact last year. So, yeah.
All right, let's move on to talk about some of the quarterbacks in the NFL draft. Why don't you start us off here?
I want to talk about Johnny Manziel for a little bit. Most of the reports early on have been about Manziel going definitely in the top 10. But as the more and more I think about it, I see a lot of mock drafts giving the Jaguars Khalil Mack out of Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
But after signing Chris Clemens and Red Bryant, two defensive ends that can fit in Gus Bradley's system, I think it's time to pull the trigger on a quarterback. And to me, if where Manziel's going is going to be a defensive head coach that is more of an improvisational quarterback that gets the job done any way necessary. I just think Manziel fits perfect in Jacksonville. I don't know about you, but if Houston doesn't pull the trigger on him, I think the Jaguars are going to.
No, yeah, I think that's a good pick for Jacksonville, and I think it's very likely that they do that. And I don't see Houston taking Manziel first overall.
Do you see Houston taking anyone other than Clowney now, or do you still think it's Bortles?
My last mock was Bortles, and I still think it's probably going to be him. It's down to those two, definitely.
I'm starting to, the more and more I'm seeing, I mean, Clowney had a nice pro day. I just think, after listening to how Bill O'Brien was talking, I think he's going to go second round, maybe go A.J. McCarron if he doesn't go Bortles. Other than Jacksonville, I mean, Minnesota's a good fit for Johnny Manziel, but do you think that what Cleveland's talking about, not showing up at their pro day, not showing up at Manziel's pro day, and talking up Derek Carr, do you think that's more of a smokescreen, or is there's still a chance Cleveland pulls the trigger on Manziel at 4?
There's still a chance, but I don't see it happening. I think maybe he's their third option there. I could see Khalil Mack or Sammy Watkins going to the Browns at 4. You
had an interesting pick in your latest mock draft, the Derek Carr to the Oakland Raiders. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, if the reports are true, where they really do like him the best, it's a lot easier to say, well, there's trade back in than actually pulling off a trade to get back into the first round. So if they truly think that Carr's their guy, then I don't see why not take him 5th overall.
It's interesting, but what about Matt Schaub then?
Matt Schaub.
Do you think Derek Carr would be? Do you think that coming right in he would start, or do you think he would sit behind Schaub for a year?
I think there'd probably be a battle, kind of like Buffalo had last year before Cobb got injured.
It's interesting. I think Derek Carr is like them and Cleveland both like Carr a lot, but I honestly, which is an interesting thing, is Daniel Jeremiah of NFL.com had him going to the Arizona Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to fall a little bit if Houston does not take Bortles. So if Bridgewater is there for Cleveland at 26, I think they'll take him, and then maybe Carr falls. And then will Houston go for Derek Carr, even though they drafted his brother?
I think they should, if he's there.
I don't think they should get scared just because it's his brother. I mean, he's a much different player.
And you hear what his brother wants to do? He wants to be his backup. So,
we know that's not going to
happen. But
yeah, I just think it all just doesn't really make sense for Houston. But but Derek Carr is the perfect type of quarterback for Bill O'Brien, I think.
Yeah. All right, what do you think about Teddy Bridgewater? Do you think you could see him in, say, Minnesota?
He's meeting with the Vikings. They're working him out. He's meeting with the team officials for the next couple of days. I think Minnesota's going to have available both Bridgewater and Bortles because I have Clowney going to Houston. And I think...
So you think only Manziel will go?
Yes, I think...
before the first 8, so...
I think Cleveland's going to pull the trigger on Watkins because... I saw reports that because they signed Nate Burleson, they're out of the Watkins sweepstakes. Nate Burleson is an over 30-year-old receiver that doesn't have his legs. His legs are gone.
Wait, what team signed Burleson?
The Cleveland Browns.
Oh, yeah, they signed him for a...
There's no way now that they're not going to take Sammy Watkins. Can you imagine Sammy Watkins and Josh Gordon on the same field? It would just be...
That'd be good, yeah.
It would be electric, and I think Oakland badly needs offensive linemen after losing Valdir to Arizona. So, yes, I think Minnesota is definitely going to take a quarterback, and if they like what they see in Bridgewater, I'm confused. Right now I have them getting Bortles to Minnesota, but I like Bridgewater, but he might fall. But Here's a nice scenario I'd like to throw at you. Tennessee Titans take a quarterback at number 11 and battle Jake Locker, who gets injured a lot.
I think that'd be a really smart move for them. And also, people want them to take want the Rams to take a quarterback at 2. But they've always been really into Sam Bradford, so I don't think they could. But if they wanted to, they could get a guy at 13.
Agreed. I don't know why they're so glued on Sam Bradford.
Well, one of the reasons Jeff Fisher wanted to coach in St. Louis is because of Sam Bradford.
True, but I mean, over the past 4 years that he's been in the NFL, first off, he can't really stay. He's been battling injuries, and I just haven't seen improvement with him. So I mean, he's just one of the most confusing players in the NFL to pick up on.
That's why I think it'd be the best move if they could trade back and stay in the top 10 and still go top 3 tackle.
Listen to this.
And get themselves some other picks.
The NFC West is the most loaded division when it comes to defense, and St. Louis is no slouch on defense either. If you look at how San Francisco is doing it and how Seattle's doing it, they both have mobile quarterbacks with powerful defenses, and they've both gotten to the NFC Championship game last year, and both have been in a Super Bowl in the past 2 years.
And the Seahawks won.
Throw Johnny Manziel on the St. Louis Rams, and that team might be able to cause some trouble in that division. I'm just saying. I think if Johnny Manziel were to fall at 13, I would snatch him up. But I would still highly consider him at number 2 because I don't know what Sam Bradford brings to the table that they're so obsessed with.
Yeah, I don't know either. Especially, I just don't like the Rams' offense.
I mean, he's got a rocket arm, but when you look at how their offense is made, how their offense runs, they need someone like Johnny Manziel in that offense. And I think with Zach Stacy as their running back, Chris Givens, yeah, and that's why I don't like a lot of people talking about them taking Sammy Watkins.
I know they have Chris Givens.
Tavon Austin, Chris Givens.
I hate Chris Givens.
Austin Patton and Brian Quickly they took in the second round 2 years ago at Appalachian State.
Don't you hate Chris Givens?
In fantasy.
You took him in the 4th round last year.
False. 6th round.
Same thing.
4th round I took my man Le'Veon Bell. So, but yeah, St. Louis has got some promising young receivers. So. Would they take Clowney at 2 instead of trading out if Houston decided to take Bortles or a quarterback?
I think they should if they're not going to if they can't trade out. But like I said a minute ago, their best bet would be to move back in the top 10 and still go to top tackle to protect Bradford.
Very true.
If he really is their guy.
Which team do you think would be I think we agree on this. Which team would be the most, the best chance of moving up to that number 2 spot with St. Louis?
Probably the
If
Atlanta
it's Clowney.
Falcons, and that's where Clowney wants to play.
He did say that, yes.
So, all right. Sticking on the topic of the draft, who do you think's the top running back going in to the 2014 draft?
I've been looking at most rankings online, and I see everyone having Carlos Hyde out of Ohio State, and he's no joke. Carlos Hyde is one of the top running backs, and he reminds me a lot of like Eddie Lacy last year, where he's going to come into a team that has a great passing attack and make an instant impact. But I like Kadeem Carey out of Arizona. I mean, when you look at how Kadeem Carey, he doesn't do anything like amazing, but he does everything good. He kind of reminds me of Le'Veon Bell. He's great between the tackles. He's got nice hands, so he's a good receiving. He's not super fast, but he's got good legs, and he's not undersized either. He's a pretty big running back. So when you look at what he did and put up the numbers he did in his 2 years of starting, it's just incredible what he did, and I don't really know why everyone's so low on Kadeem Carey. So, to me, if I'm starting off taking a running back, which I don't think there will be one in the first round, second round or third round, I'm taking Kadeem Carey out of Arizona.
Yeah, when I first did my rankings, I had Kadeem Carey at 1, and his stock didn't fall. I just really like Carlos Hyde. I watched him through the year, and seeing him play with Braxton Miller, they really worked good together. So if you put Hyde with a good mobile quarterback, I think he could be just as explosive as he was in Ohio State.
One thing I think about, what I used to think about with Carlos Hyde is that he benefited off of Braxton Miller's read option. But you also look at, and then I went back and watched how Kadeem Carey did too. They did a read option style too. So, I mean, that's just how college football works. Everyone did that, unless you're running a pro-style system like Alabama does or LSU. And Jeremy Hill, who's a rising running back out of LSU. But do you think then Bishop Sankey,
something like that,
out of Washington, where do you think he's going to end up? Because some people have him, like Mike Mack has him as their top running back.
Yeah.
He could be like a Giovanni Bernard of last year.
I see him as a 3rd or 4th round pick.
Third? Okay.
Just because of the lack of running backs that are going to be taken.
I know this, yeah.
maybe one or two running backs will get a starting job, but not a lot of running backs are getting a starting job this year.
What teams need running backs right now?
None really. Like, no teams have bad running backs. Like the Falcons could improve. Like they've been talking to Chris Johnson. Maybe Jacksonville. Who do
they have Toby
they
Gerhardt.
have Toby Gerhardt.
I don't think you're going into the season with just Gerhardt as your
Obviously
running back.
Tennessee.
Right, correct. Yeah, that's the team I think could get Hyde.
Arizona's good.
Atlanta? Did you say Atlanta already? Steven Jackson.
Yeah, I said they could increase. The whole NFC West is set. Although maybe if the 49ers wanted to get a guy behind.
Yeah, but they had
guys,
Marcus Lattimore. Don't forget about him coming off an injury, a terrible injury last year.
I mean, the
2 years
Jets
ago.
could improve.
Yeah, the Jets. But that's what I'm interested in right now is when's Chris Johnson going to sign with a team?
I don't know.
He said he would decide this week. This past week that's now passed by. That in really reporting on NFL.com that the Bills were out, the Dolphins were out after signing Noshawn Moreno. So it was really down to the Jets and the Falcons.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering which one of those teams. And I wonder if they even offered him contracts yet. But, I mean, it's just Chris Johnson was a consistent. He's the only running back in the past 6 years that has had 1,000 yards in every season. So that's an interesting little stat for Chris Johnson. So let's move on from running backs. And,
All right, now,
yeah.
there's an interesting thing. Everyone knows the NFC West is the best division in football. Can you agree?
Yes, I can.
And I do think the Seahawks are still the best team in that division, of course, because they won the Super Bowl. But a lot of people see the 49ers having a bad year this year, or they have the Cardinals just having a better year. Who do you think is going to be better in 2014, the 49ers or the Cardinals?
I've thought about this a lot, and after seeing what the Cardinals have done in free agency, getting Antonio Cromartie to go along with Patrick Peterson, hopefully they're going to get Tyrann Mathieu back off that bad injury, knee injury last year.
Late last year.
I'm thinking too, what are they going to do with that 20 pick? Do they still like Carson Palmer, which reportedly they do?
Yep. You know who they should get if follows?
Teddy
Ebron.
Ebron?
Ebron. Something like that.
That would be
Who
pretty
is
good.
their tight end?
Rob Hausler.
Exactly.
And Bruce Arians has always had an impactful tight end in his system. When you go back to when he was the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh with Heath Miller, and then he ran a dual threat 2 years ago in Indianapolis with Dwayne Allen and Kobe Fleener. So, but I look at it, and then I look at what the 49ers did, and there's a lot of turmoil people have been talking about in San Francisco. San Francisco's keep on plugging and playing on their defense in the secondary, which is their one weak spot. They lost Deshaun Goldson last year, and then got Eric Reed.
Yeah.
And then when you look at it, you see this year they lost Dante Whitner to Cleveland. And then they got Antoine Bethea to replace him. So their secondary's a little shaky, and they've got some age when it comes on the defensive line with Brooks and Justin Smith, not Alden Smith.
Yeah.
I'm going to go the Arizona Cardinals.
Really?
But it's going to come down, it's going to be close. But after seeing how promising that team is, besides their quarterback, if Carson Palmer can not throw 22 interceptions like he did last year, which was second most in the NFL behind Geno Smith, this team could be a Super Bowl contender if they weren't in this division.
You know, maybe.
I'm going bold. Everyone. I mean, everyone goes San Francisco, but I don't know. I just think I'm going Arizona. I like what they do, and it seems to work in their receivers too.
Wow, yeah, I think I actually may agree with you, especially
Join me.
Over the next few years. Both teams are young, and the Cardinals need to get a quarterback in the future, but not this year.
Right.
I don't know.
Even though they don't have many needs.
They don't.
So unless
Tight
you want to
end.
go, you can never have two tight end. But if say Ebron goes to the Bills or the Ravens and they pull the trigger on him, you can never have too many pass rushers, so they could take a D Ford or a Coney Ealy. But I mean, they have Darnell Dockett and Calais Campbell. Why not pull the trigger on Bridgewater if he's falling, or if say Bridgewater goes to Minnesota and Bortles falls, or Derek Carr? I just think if you get Carr, I mean, you don't have to start him. You can still start Carson Palmer, but I just think if you're having Super Bowl aspirations, I don't think Carson Palmer can get you there because he'll throw the game away for you.
I think I go with the 49ers.
Okay.
Because look at their
It's
weapons.
understandable, right?
Vernon Davis, Michael Crabtree,
Plus, if they draft a receiver,
Anquan Bolden, and who else?
Quentin Patton, who they
Quentin
like,
Patton.
who last year came out of Louisiana Tech, and then their running backs.
Yeah, but still, that's a good receiving core. And if Kaepernick keeps doing what he's doing, I think it's the 49ers.
What I've noticed about the NFC West is, yes, Kaepernick and Russell Wilson are freak athletes and they're super mobile, but the teams don't ask them to do a lot,
Mm-hmm.
which is why, like, when you look at what Russell Wilson does, he was a game, and I hate using this word, but he was a game manager in Seattle. When you look at, like, they didn't ask him to throw it a lot.
Game manager.
Right, obviously. But, like, they didn't ask him to throw the football a lot. They were a run-based team with Marshawn Lynch.
He had a limited role and he did it well, really
Exactly.
well.
That's what Arizona needs, too.
He got the
And
job done.
Yeah, right. And that's what Arizona needs, and the quarterback that they have, that's not what he does.
No.
Which is why I think a Bridgewater would be a perfect fit with Arizona. And he could remain a Cardinal. Because, get it? He was a Louisville Cardinal.
I guess. I don't like him that much.
You don't like Teddy Bridgewater that
I
much?
think he could be a bust. So.
Okay. So, before we go, I want to talk about one more thing. What's been going on at NFL.com right now was a bracket voted by the fans for the best quarterback of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to put in a little thing. Donovan McNabb came into the Final Four.
It's awful.
And Joe Montana was defeated by Johnny Unitas in the finals. So a lot of NFL.com analysts and television hosts have been debating this. Who is your best quarterback of all time right now? Is it Johnny Unitas?
Jim Kelly.
No, you don't believe that. Even you don't believe that.
But if
he had a ring,
3, he would no doubt.
Oh, if he had 3, yeah, obviously. But even if if Scott Norwood's kick goes in against New York, he's in a totally different conversation. All he needed was the 1.
Yes, but someone who is 4-0 in Super Bowls, and Super Bowls matter for quarterback, Joe Montana, he's my best quarterback of all time.
Plus no interceptions in those Super Bowls.
Really? Nice.
Fun little fact. But there is Tom Brady, who I mean, he's got 3 Super Bowl rings, but he has not won one in the past.
You say Tom Brady?
No, wait, hold on. I'm making my case for Tom Brady. He has 3 rings. He is 37, but he said he wants to play, still, he's got 4 or 5 good years left in him. When you look at what he had when he won those 3 Super Bowls, yes, he had an amazing defense with Teddy Bruschi, Rodney Harrison, Asante Samuel, Willie McGinnis, and all those guys. And he didn't have to do too much, like a lot of the quarterbacks have been lately. But when it's on his shoulders against New York and against New York again,
they lost.
Couldn't get it done.
No.
Which is why I think it's Joe Montana too, even though that's the boring pick, but it is. He's 4-0 in the Super Bowl and no interceptions. It's undeniable. So
who's better, Peyton or Eli?
I'm going Peyton. The 1 ring is huge, but I mean, Eli Manning's not. He's too hot and cold. Peyton Manning's consistent every single year, even if he doesn't do terrific in the playoffs. Even though he got the team to the Super Bowl this year.
Yes.
So I mean, it's not like he failed in the Super Bowl, but
he did. He failed
in the Super Bowl. I mean, he didn't fail in the playoffs entirely.
Or how about this? Eli or Joe Flacco?
Eli Manning. I got one for you. Ben Roethlisberger or Eli Manning.
I'm taking Eli Manning.
Both got 2. Really?
Yeah.
Who is the best? Do you think Roethlisberger is the best Steelers quarterback of all time? Do you think it's Terry Bradshaw?
Terry Bradshaw.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, this is interesting. I would say Roethlisberger over both of those guys. Look at, even though
I've watched a lot of Eli Manning in my career.
Of course you have.
And
when
he comes to the playoffs,
okay,
he is unstoppable.
It's true.
But he throws a lot of interceptions.
One more. Best quarterback in Packers history. Rodgers, Favre, Bart Starr.
Rodgers. I think he will be by the end of his career.
Okay. Yeah, that we'll do it like that too. Brett Favre only had 1 ring.
I don't like Brett Favre, especially because
I think
when I really got into football, it's when he was on the Jets and the Vikings and all that.
Oh, I feel like
it just really.
But you did see when he was he lost in the NFC Championship against the Giants.
Yeah, I don't like it.
But I think Brett Favre just put a bad taste in everyone's mouth in the end with all the coming back and then leaving and then coming back again and then leaving again. But there was no denying his talent and his gunslinger mentality. But I agree with Aaron Rodgers.
Last one.
He was durable.
Also, all right, last one. Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer.
Ew, no, not even close. Joe Flacco. Trent Dilfer came in. That's probably the worst Super Bowl of all time when it comes to quarterbacks. Trent Dilfer and Kerry Collins were the starters in that Super Bowl. That's disgusting. I don't know how New York got to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, they were and the week before, my dad was at this game, the conference championship. They won like 56-0 over the Vikings.
Okay, I gotta do one more. I'm sorry. One more. Steve Young or Brett Favre? Both have one ring. Both were dual threat quarterbacks.
Steve Young.
Steve Young. I'm going Brett Favre with that one.
Doug Flutie or Randall Cunningham?
And that's where we stop. I'm going Randall Cunningham. Are you kidding me? Okay, that's going to do it for today's NFL offseason podcast. Thanks for joining.